welcome Arielle and Susan.
Well, I want to extend my thank you to Surpik and Valentin to host us here and have this wonderful conversation with Houston, at large. So I made this presentation just for Hauntology, so you might not see this presentation again. I really plugged into the theme and sort of reveal things that I normally don't talk about. So, really. So this is a painting when I was a teenager. Not that it's my best painting, but I wanted to show you how I was already very early and plugged into some kind of other dimension. And I wanted to put this painting because as a teenager, I had really mystical experiences that I guess this painting illustrates. And then, how do you do this? And then as I went to India when I was 20, that was a rite of passage for many of us of our generation where, you had to go to India to, I guess, expand your thought and find your path on your spiritual quest, or something like this. So, but then I got really interested in the work of Ajit Mukherjee, who was one of the first in really publicized or popularized the Indian traditional tantra paintings, so-called yantras, and so it was like this sort of a small talk among connoisseur of Ajit Mukherjee's work. It says here, the yogi artist's work culminates in simultaneously diagrams of himself and the world within which he is the world. And you can read the rest because I'm not really good at that. But so I did this painting. Again, it's a very early painting, but as I did this lecture, I found that I was interested in shamanism. This is representing a Mexican shamanic experience of the voladores who go around a pole and swing, flying around a pole. And it also had this geometry in nature, which has always been interesting. So this is the thing I never show. I have a long practice in Kundalini Yoga. I started when I came back from India. You can probably spot me there on the right. And so it consisted, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, like you can see on the bottom. And then we had this solstice celebration where we practiced tantras in couple face each other. And the last time I went, we were 1,200 people meditating at the same time. So really you can feel the energy and you can feel the power of this meditation. And we really made the weather change. So
we tried it here.
Yeah, I put here 2012. I still do Kundalini Yoga, but my health didn't allow me to go back to solstice. And then I came to the United States in '86, and in a bookstore I found this catalog from this well-known exhibition, The Spiritual in Art, Abstract Painting, 1898-1985. And that's where I found the work of Hilma af Klint, who nowadays doesn't need any introduction, but back then nobody knew her, and I found her work there, and it was very seminal because it gave me permission to go from the yantras, which is an Indian tradition, which is not my tradition, which doesn't have anything to do with me, and giving me permission to find my own vocabulary in that same trend of thought. So I started, after being a core fellow, I started from the beginning, basic geometry. I started with a circle, with a point, and I was interested in numbers, as Pythagoras laid down the work, sort of a whole cosmology, very precise. So I did these visual numbers, which I was interested in the symbolic part of it, and so I did many works like this. This is a piece that represents the Platonic solid on the first line and on the third line. And you know that Plato ascribed an element to each Platonic solid. So you have the earth, water, fire, air, and ether, which is the fifth element. And conversely, in the middle row, you have the tattvas, the Indian symbols for the 5 elements. So again, you have earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So I did this kind of work, and then I did this. I made these cards. They're tattvas, but it's an oracle card. So I just put, this is the kind of thing I never put in my lectures, but I am interested in oracle cards. I've been using oracle cards. I've been always fascinated by them. This is an interesting one because you're made to really stare at the card and then have the after image sort of starting floating above it, and that is like a tool of scrying in order to increase your visionary and higher visionary power. I made that book, that card deck. More of these Platonic solid. And then delving into these numbers, the number 3, I landed on this Vesica Piscis, which is the number 3. You have one circle merging with a second circle, creating the mandorla in the center, which is the number 3. And it's a sacred geometry matrix. It's as old as humanity. It's been used in Gothic cathedrals, in India, in floor plans of temples. The Virgin Mary is always represented in the mandorla. The mandorla is also in India the yoni, the female symbol. And it has the particularity of being a generator of form. So when you actually use the geometry and use your ruler, your compass, you can generate all of the other geometric forms. Like here you have Dürer generating the pentagon, and then etc. So I made these paintings. So I made my own yantras in a way that was in the 90s. My own yantras. And then as I was doing all of this work, Nestor Topshi, who is here, has the grace and very good idea of inviting me at the Project Row House because Robert Powell was teaching sacred geometry. Robert Powell is a mathematician who taught math at TSU, Texas Southern University, and was actually seminal in teaching sacred geometry and geometry to John Biggers, the famed artist from Houston. I mean, he wasn't from Houston, but. And so we had a whole program, and we did a lot of geometry, and the seminal form that Robert Powell used was actually the Vesica Piscis. So I guess that's what Nestor recognized. And so these are my drawings in my sketchbook. And then a funny little trivia. Very recently, my husband does home care. So he goes, he's a health worker. He goes into people's home. And so he went and took care of this little man. And he said, "How come you have my wife's drawings on your board?" And then, so he took a picture, and then he came back saying, "You know what? I went to Robert Powell's home." So, and I think Robert Powell is still alive, and I hope someone, I know Peter Gershon is not here, but I hope someone will come in and look at his work. It's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. So I'm interested in gardens. I did a lot of gardens. All of my gardens are done with these geometry. I was very interested in this book, Transform My Life, because it shows the geometry of the gardens in a spiritual way, which is the Sufi way. It was a very interesting book. So I made more gardens and more flowers until I find that by extending the Vesica Piscis, I made this lattice. On this lattice, I made many, many different patterns, and I made more patterns that I transform into colors. I made more than 75 of these same format kind of patterns like this. So every one of these domino paintings, I actually draw the lattice underneath with a compass and a ruler. And here you can see it says meditation in action. I never show the process. People don't even know that there is a drawing underneath. And it's my sort of own little garden, you know, that I keep for myself, and people don't need to know the process. So I also make my own paint, which is also a meditation in action, because I actually take the time to process the material in a very alchemical way. And then from there, the computer invaded my life, probably like it invaded yours too. And I started making these patterns, distorted patterns, and I start making these paintings that are like that, which is more like the style that I'm doing right now, this kind of paintings. And I'm giving you here a snippet of shameless plug. I'm going to have an exhibition at the Glasstire School of Art, one solo exhibition downstairs. So you're all invited. There'll be more in that style, when? Sort of responding when? When? In September of this year. So sort of responding to the elements that is the constellation of the life we're living right now, politically. I'm also a professional astrologer. If you need your chart cast, I'm here. And then I opened up, the astrology sort of made me from this, 2D abstraction, made me open the sky, made me open the space, and I went into this idea of doing this galactic ecology. This happened in 2001. I was very shocked by the political events, and I thought of if I took a distance, you know, from this earth that I'm in, and took a galactic point of view. If I were to see the earth from the galactic center, you know, what would I see, what would I view? So all this work has to do with this. And so this is a little bit a transition piece, because it shows this galactic point of view, but you also have the Milky Way entering the mountain, and the mountain is the Mount Meru, but it has the Buddhism, all this allegory of the spine of the mount being the central axis of the earth, connecting the cosmos with the underworld and the middle world. And it's also the spine of the Buddha. So all of this has very much a shamanic undertone, and I don't think we have time to read all this. But Mircea Eliade, when I was a teenager, was really seminal in the way I saw the world. And now, very many years later, I'm sort of coming back to his writing, and mostly through my own practice of shamanism. Here you can see earthing. I traveled to Mexico for 10 years, these last 10 years, very, very much sustainably, and having a lot of shamanic practices over there. And from there, I've done some of this work that are expression of visionary and practices that happen in your mind, I guess. So that's it. And then, let's see.